What's up? On full moon tomorrow. Yield Sunday, the 22nd, which is a mastery number. Or, at the very least, a multiplicity of, I don't know, creation cycles, something. 2/11 is 2 wishes. 22 is a weird number. But I don't know. There's a bunch of shit going on with the sun being in Leo and the moon in Aquarius, but moving into a heavy water sign. It's very much like both are very much on the brink of that. So I feel like energy is very volatile, and I feel like it's pushing for everything but rest to truly challenge us in how well we navigate that, I suppose. Which is fine and fair and dandy. So with that, I pull a few cards to see what this full moon has for us, what it wants to shed light on, what it will bring to the surface with its ripples. Okay. Now, much like we are hanging out, my friends, if you'll do me a solid, and yourself a solid, and just take 3 deep breaths with me as I try and tap into all of this collective nonsense. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, a shadow card will rise from the deck. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, shadow card. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, shadow card. One more deep breath in. And exhale. Okay. Bottom of the deck is the 8 of Pentacles. Shit, where's my camera? And I think that the world is moving really fast, and this is a card of patience, which is funny, that keeps coming up consistently. So, because it's very much about faith and growing, I think. And even the sky about it is sort of this like foggy red, like weirdness in the sky. And I feel like that's because we're on a journey from the spiritual back into grounding, and that clarifies integrity, that clarifies where you exist in your body, how you exist in your body, how you exist in your spirituality, how you exist in the world. We're all very much learning new things every day and figuring out pieces of that every day. But I feel like because the world is moving so quickly, it's easy to fall into line with that rather than understand that you require patience and maintenancing yourself that does not move at that speed. You can kind of coast. It's like driving down a highway, and you kind of like, when you see all of these lines rhythmically pass you, it almost makes you feel like time's moving slower, but you're moving very fast. It's the highway. And I say that because it's how we interpret that reality that moves us, and that can be fucking cruise control and like the most joyful ride of your life, because you're not focused on the speed, because you're not focused on keeping up with anybody else. That's kind of the best time to drive, when it's the middle of the fucking night, an open highway, and nobody's fucking around. And I mean, like, literally around, not fucking around. And I feel like that's something to strive for, or something to recognize, something to slow down on. I used to have these dreams where it felt like time was moving either so fast or so slow, or like so fast that it seemed so slow that it was almost like a mouthful, like I could feel it sort of fill my cheeks. And it was anxiety riding. They were not my favorite dreams. But I do see that exists in waking life, and I think because of those dreams, I can almost swallow that feeling and then find those lines in the highway so that it becomes a steady pace, and I understand that time is not moving outside of your perception. You can go at your own pace, and that is the only reality that matters. The first card of this, because the Eight of Pentacles is at the bottom of the deck, which is also like planting roots, I think, because of this earth element. And it's either discovering roots or like understanding planted roots and understanding where things come from, which perhaps in a both micro and macro way is the honoring of your spirit and where that came from. Whether that's honoring spirituality, honoring ancestors, honoring what's led you here to begin with, is important. It's a integral part of the story, and it upholds your truth. It upholds your strength. It gives life to those roots. And zones in on heart space. There's so much in that card that I have not picked up on before, or has not been quite as loud. The Chariot is the first card, which is a 7. It's also inverted, which is the opposite of moving forward. And maybe this is perception of you being stagnant or stuck or not moving forward fast enough, or like not having progressed enough, not having enough, what have you, whatever that may be, is all a false perception. And that's because we live in a world that judges touch based on how tactile they can be. Like, they have to hold it, they have to see it, they have to believe it, they have to, or hold it and see it to believe it. When much of our wealth and our growth and our prosperity is not not the pentacle itself, but what gives the pentacle weight. So it's less about things and more about what they mean. It's less about things and, milestones, and more about what those experiences meant to you, or what those things mean to you, or what that kind of value means to you. Like, not everybody fucking needs a white picket fence. And that's just my most dramatic example. But it's also a 7, which is blessings, which is, gosh, the entirety of a scale, a whole chapter, and like, the weight of the situation, the weight of the momentum. And I think this is maybe asking you to understand that before you use it wildly. Because the 9 of Wands follows. And the 9 of Wands is an electric card. It's a passionate card. It's a beautiful card. I love that I am capable of feeling the 9 of Wands. But because of the dichotomies of life, that ecstasy can also be great sorrow, great pain, great aggression, great rage, great... I don't want to say primal, because the animals are so intelligent, and if anything, they check themselves and shake themselves and heal themselves a little bit better than we've been conditioned to. But that sort of like unhingedness, which is not animal, that's captivity, let's be real. And I think that's very much something I've been feeling in the ether and the weather and what have you. It's quite frustrating. But all the more reason why this chariot is inverted and why it requires stillness, because this can have incredible momentum forward and a straight line path directly into what it wants, directly into this Ace of Cups. But if you just fucking throw it, like this motherfucker probably would if they were in, like, their not highest power, if they were not understanding of their grace and their grounding, that shit would wobble everywhere. That would go out of control. That is why we have shows like Jackass and Ridiculousness, where people lose control and fall off their skateboards going down a hill. When we can be very prepared, very aware, understand the aerodynamics of our situation, of our trajectory, of what we want to aim for, to push toward, then we compensate where we need, get lower, whatever. I don't know how to fucking skateboard. I'm sure somebody else can answer that for you. But there's things you do to, like, create stability in high speeds in general, regardless of what kind of wheels they are. And I think that while the 9 of Wands can be the beauty and the power that we succeed with, it could be our unraveling of that trajectory. The Chariot is also important here because these Sphinx on this Chariot, very much in a literal way ties back to, ancestral magics and what have you, which is very much with this 8 of Pentacles, is also like, hey, have you dug for this? Hey, have you planted this? Hey, do you believe in this so that it can grow? It's kind of like, I don't want to just say PMA, but it's kind of like faith in your growing and faith in the power of your roots. We're in a funny time where I feel like some people just don't want to believe. It's much easier to be cynical sometimes, and the hard thing about that is when you turn off one emotion, it's not like you have some switchboard where you can, like, I only want happiness, and then I only want, joy, but I'm going to turn off sadness and turn off insecurity. Doesn't work. They all go off. There's a master switch. It's just on or off. You feel or you don't. If you numb yourself out, if you numb one thing out, you're going to numb out all of it. And it's very hard to get back to understanding your emotions post that. I speak from experience. But so the last card of this is the Ace of Cups, and that's very much emotional energy, water energy. I feel like in this heat, very literally, is immersing yourself in water wherever you can. Literally and figuratively, as in honoring space for your emotions, because this is agitation, and this will only get more agitated if this is not honored, if this is not recognized, if this is not cherished, if this is not treated as the blessing that it is with this 7. It's like holy water. Our emotions are holy water in that sense. They're sacred to us in the context that they're powerful. Regardless of what you believe, it's powerful, it holds information. It has memory and data capacity. So even if the word sacred isn't something you rock with, it is powerful. And so much of the world feels dry that we often feel like we have to be just as dry as well. But that ultimately is where you lose wealth. So if this Ace of Pentacles doesn't believe in something that is very real and exists within them, then the lack that they feel isn't something that will go away with wealth and gain in a tangible or literal financial sense. I think that's a false way of recognizing that we've been conditioned to via fucking capitalism, rather than the inherent or like the internal value of people over things, of experiences over things, places, gain. Which is really funny, because all I can think of is I heard this guru say something about how society today uses people as a means or like a tool to an end, rather than humanity being the end and the means being all of the other shit that we worry about. But I found that really interesting, because that's the basis of modern culture in a lot of ways, which is hard to reconcile with without understanding who you were before that. Who you were before somebody told you that you had to buy this fucking masterclass to feel like you. Or before you had to buy, I don't know, this house, this car, to feel like you. Because none of those things are you. And being able to feel whole without all of that is how we draw those things in. Is how we draw those things toward us in understanding basic physics. Like molecules attract like molecules, especially with water. It understands It's closeness. There's actually a lot of really interesting science behind water and why that is. But I won't go crazy on that now. I love thunderstorms. We'll pull some numbers to see what the literal world has to say about this ether and this electricity in the air, which is exactly storms and thunder and lightning, 100%. And while storms are nourishing, they can also get in the way. And I think that's exactly who we can be to ourselves. Which I've said that before. It's like being the eye of your own storm, what have you. But you can be destructive or you can be nourishing with your emotions. And in a time when, you know, anger and frustration and all of that is heightening, sensitivities are heightening. Understand where you're plugged in, what you're dialed to, and how you can play with that so that you can stay comfortable in an uncomfortable time. Which is also why rest keeps coming up. As of late, of course. I'll tell you what that was in a sec. I hope the weather is peaceful wherever you are. Let's take some breaths together. Deep breath in. And shadow card out. Deep breath in. And shadow card out. One nice deep breath in. And shadow card out. Okay, that was interesting and makes a lot of, it explains a lot of breathing on the first try, because I was like, I don't know what it is, like just saturating and like damp, submerged, and like pressured. Like something's just like very wet and holding my hand. And there is a very interesting tickle just at the point of my middle fingers, which are solar energy and spirit. No, it's not solar. That's Jupiter. But very much how we connect to and how we direct energy. It's like the longest extruding leg of our heart. And like, I don't know, it was like somebody, like a little mouse took a little string and like it was just pulling on my finger. So in a world of confusion, go with what you feel, because there's always a reason for it. Follow your gut. But also, if you don't know what that is, that's where this comes in again. Seeking and finding and digging in what already is. You know, there's spirit everywhere. There's spirituality everywhere. There's magic everywhere. Sometimes I find the most magic when I read fucking science journals and watch fucking NASA shit on YouTube. Sometimes it's just in music and the way the world shines a little brighter after. There's magic everywhere. However it is, you need to find faith in yourself so that you can see the world in a way where possibility exists and faith is a part of you. And you understand the power of your heart over your mind and your mind over reality. That's what's beckoning. I don't necessarily even think it's something we know. Maybe it's somewhere we haven't looked before, but it's something beckoning. Which is also maybe why it's been harder to rest, and why we have this Nine of Wands, and why things are so in the world. Is we all sense this beckoning, but we don't know what to make of it. We don't know what it is, or what have you. And it's probably right under your nose. It's probably where you've been looking this whole time, but haven't seen. Which isn't because it wasn't there, it's because you didn't want to see. It's because you didn't believe you could see, or you didn't think you were worthy of seeing, etc., etc. You know, whatever it is, false prophecy, and God, is it limitations, self-limitations. Another 7, my dear. 7 of longevity. That's funny. Because the 7's in the middle where this 9 would be, and the 5 follows. So it's, you would think it's not a progression, because it goes from 7 to 5. It goes from Jack to 7 to 5. You would think it's not a progression. You would think it's a step down, if you read it literally. But, like I said, this 7 is a blessing. This is a 7 of Swords. This is changing your mind about belief and understanding of blessing to give you faith to move. So it is a move forward, because this 5 of Diamonds is a literal, tangible, earthly creation. So it happens in the spirit before it happens in your hands, which is key to any creation. So it's very much a step forward. It's just breaking down very, like, literally, in terms of understand this undertone of blessing, like this sort of whole tone, as it creates this new pattern. Does that make sense? As I'm like, but not that I fucking really even am good at playing anything. The Jack of Diamonds precedes this, and while he looks off into the distance beyond these cards, as if these cards trailed behind him, I think longing for more. Like, longing for more and missing longevity. Wow. Because the 7 of Spades is very much, you know, riding a wholehearted life. And it needs to be upright. It should be upright. That's BS. But it's because he's not looking in, like, in the way he thinks he's looking into the future, because these cards are behind him. But the way that he's presenting himself to me is that he's looking into the past and missing that blessings are in the future. That's 100% what's going on right now. And even more so, like, the zeitgeist of this time is the Queen of Diamonds, which is like fulfilling, nutrition, like everything that makes us our best self. It's a balanced chi. It's health and, again, longevity. And that doesn't even necessarily, that doesn't have to mean literally. Although, fucking party on good health to all of you, my friends. But it is about what what's in our veins? What do we bleed for? What do we pour out into the world? Very literally. What do we rain down on the world? What does our lightning look like? When does it strike? Is it just meant to strike fear, or is it because we are beautiful electricity making lights for all to see? Wow. The Joker fell out when I was shuffling, which is essentially like the illusion toward Major Arcana, which the other cards started with, so that's very much fucking there. A new chapter came up somewhere along the way, but it's like it's a new chapter of something new and exciting, but perhaps we're hesitant to let go of the old chapter. It's like being afraid to watch the next episode of your new show or your favorite show because you don't know if your favorite character is going to die or something. But it's not. Little do we know, many blessings of coming back to life, which is a huge reward. We have to look at tomorrow and today and tomorrow with that excitement rather than anticipation. So if you anticipate the beat, you will miss it. And Joker's very much transformation on all counts. And he wants to show you something. He wants to show you how to make your own pentacles. How you have them already, even if you can't see them. How it's like they're cloaked. It's not that they're not weighty. It's not that they're not full of mass. It's like they're cloaked in invisibility. And maybe that's true of just like sense of self in the world. You know, a lot of our confidence is cloaked in advertisements telling us why we shouldn't be. And I mean, like, and that's a very microwave, personal way of looking at it. But you can very much take that with truth and spirituality. A lot of truth is cloaked in somebody else's paradigm. This is why the modern version of the Bible exists. What was truth is cloaked in somebody else's idea of good and evil. This is why people are afraid of demons. This is why people don't understand love. This is why minorities are demonized when their magics were hidden or buried or cloaked in white supremacy and given a version of acceptance or cloaked in fetishization or something. You get my point. I mean, even what we do know to be true now with modern science is still proving ancestral magics, but it's cloaked in a Western understanding, which is very much that literal, tangible aspect, that seen to believe kind of deal. So that we can still receive it, but not the whole truth, you know? Whatever it may be, wherever that may exist for you, the cloaking of your truth. This wonderful little magician's going to show you. And that it's something that is coming, that is so close, is already well on its way. I think we just haven't been seeing it. You know how you meet people and you've been in the same room for years, or like been at the same functions or whatever for years, seen each other around for years, known the same people for years, and had no idea that the other person existed. That's very much what spirit is right now, I think. It's just like, has been at the party with you many times and you still don't remember their name. Which is fine. Do you remember their face? What do you call them? This is some very existential shit. But I love it. I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting, and it's all fulfilling, beautiful, loving things. And while the Nine of Wands could be me like headbutting somebody in the face, it's also losing yourself in passion and painting for a whole night, or going out dancing, or going hiking, and falling in love with the world, and falling in love with space and nature and yourself all over again. It's electric. I hope. I hope that you are the beautiful, refreshing storm that you need for you right now. But with that, I will let y'all go while I enjoy the rest of this rain and take some breaths for myself. But until next time, my dears, be safe. Be kind, be mindful. Don't be a dick. And party on.